This summer, during the biggest sporting event of the year, Peacock turns to two broadcasting legends for the Olympics coverage you can't find anywhere else.
I think they mean us.
With an incredible duo sure to take home the comedy gold. Olympic Highlights with Kevin Hart and Kenan Thompson. New episodes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Only on Peacock.
Back here on Sid and Friends in the morning. And, we're talking a lot, obviously, about Harris and Trump and Biden and Bibi and Israel. Let's take a little break. It's Friday. A lot of other stuff going on in this city. And let's talk to a man who not only is a dear friend of mine, we've worked together on and off for the better part of 25 years.
Yikes.
I know. But now he is one of the newest members. This is a big deal, folks. One of the newest members of the New York Radio Hall of Fame. And he really does deserve it. He is former WFAN great and now has a tremendous show of his own, 7 a.m. every morning. Great TV show on Fox Sports 1. My good buddy, Craig Carton. Craig, congratulations, buddy. How are you?
Well, I appreciate it, but as you know, as a Hall of Famer, and I'm sure you'll be joining me in that prestigious hall very soon, you now refer to me as Sir, if you don't mind. And I believe I've earned that. And if you want to continue this relationship or phone call, it'll be now Sir Craig Carton.
All right.
I respect that.
We can do that. So, Sir Craig Carton, you were in the New York Post again yesterday. I know. I don't know if you know this, but Michelle Beadle's first ever job was working with me at a place called CSTV, College Sports Television.
Yeah, that was over by, that was right on the East River over in, whatchamacallit, right?
Chelsea Piers.
Chelsea Piers, yeah. Then they had the big flood. I don't know if that was during Sandy or before, but yeah, I remember those old days, and you worked with a guy, I think, named Ethan Kleinberg as well, who's a producer over there.
I did. And a bunch of guys that are still on TV doing college basketball and college football, and Brian B. Dole ended up selling that CSTV, I guess, to CBS for a ton of money, but she was real good back then. Over the years, she did a lot of stuff with you with the fans, so the rumor in the Post yesterday was she may be joining the Carton Show. Any truth to that?
What else you got today on the docket?
I think the biggest sports story in this city is the Yanks. You know, they start their series against the Red Sox tonight. They did not beat the Mets at all this year. They just got swept again, 0-4 on the season against the Mets. And you know how this works, Craig. As soon as a baseball team doesn't meet expectations, it's all about the manager. Every year, Yankee fans want the manager, Aaron Boone, fired. Does Craig Carton think the Yankees should fire Aaron Boone?
What else you got? No, I'm teasing. No, I don't actually. You know, it's funny. Look, Aaron Boone has never been to a World Series as a Yankee manager, so that's got to change because that's not the Yankee way. But it's also interesting the way people talk about Aaron Boone, and this is like a sports talk radio created hysteria, and I was a part of it. You were a part of it, so I'm not suggesting I wouldn't have done the same thing. That I hear on the Fan all the time now, and other outlets that talk about New York baseball. But in the modern era of baseball, there's only 3 managers with a winning percentage of over 600, and he's one of them. Right? So you can't say he doesn't know what he's doing. Now, to be fair, against the Mets, he put out some ridiculous lineup. Like all of a sudden, J.D. Davis is going to save, the Yankees offense, which is just, comical. But it's funny because if you go back to, I don't know, let's say some point in May, the New York Mets are 10 games under 500. Steve Cohen's a lousy owner. Stearns is a waste of time as a general manager. Pete Alonso's got to go. And the New York Mets have embarrassed themselves again. And now we're rebuilding. And what happened to we're going to go to multiple World Series, blah, 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 right? and now all of a sudden they're a game out of being the number one wild card team. They're over 500. The Atlanta Braves stink, and the New York Mets are like the hottest team in baseball. And then flip the script. The New York Yankees, one of the great starts they've had under Aaron Boone. They're 25 games over 500. They're going to cruise to a division title, and then bang, they win one out of their last 11 series, and they're the worst record in baseball over the last month. So now he's got to go. And I think when we don't remember that baseball is a long effing season, and there are highs and lows and winning streaks and losing streaks, you know, you kind of lose the forest for the trees. Like, the New York Yankees are playing in the playoffs this year. No one's going to dispute that, right? There's still 17 games over 500. So at this later stage of my life, I now view sports with the maturity, frankly, of a Hall of Famer.
Sir Carton.
Aaron Boone's not going to survive to next year if the Yankees are one and done in the playoffs. But you don't fire Aaron Boone today. It's silly.
Couldn't agree more, and they won't do it anyway. That's not the Hal Steinbrenner way. George would have fired Aaron Boone 5 times already.
Aaron Boone would be on his third stint with the Yankees right now.
For sure. Yeah. So years ago at WFAN, I had a very unfortunate back and forth with Susan Waldman. And at one point I said, to quote the great late Frank Vincent from the movie Goodfellas, Susan, go home and get your shine box. She didn't find that to be funny.
Shocking.
Yeah, and in fact, it turned out to be a really nasty back and forth. Then I made that stupid comment on the Imus show. So long story short, Susan, not a big fan of mine. In fact, I think she detests me. And we don't talk. There's nothing there, even though she was on the fan when I was on the fan. Now, I don't think that you and her ever got that ugly. Maybe you did. I don't know. But I got to tell you, when I heard that Craig Carton is going to do 3 Yankee games against the Texas Rangers with Susan Waldman, I said, I don't know whose idea this was, but this is genius. Tell me about this upcoming series with the Yankees where you're going to do play-by-play for the Bronx Bombers.
Ground ball to short. Volpe's got it over to first, one away. You know, Susan, I was thinking about how great it is. Here's a few things. Let me start with how this thing happened. This is the Yankees' idea. This wasn't WFAN, trying to, get me back on the airwaves. This wasn't me going to them saying, hey, I miss being on the, blah, blah, blah. This is the idea of the New York Yankees think tank.
So are you telling me so that was like Randy Levine and those guys?
Yeah, the front office of the Yankees, who, as you know, I have a great personal relationship with, and see them a lot, and I go to a couple of Yankee games a year, et cetera. They obviously are trying to find a replacement for John Sterling, who's become larger than life, obviously, as one of the great broadcasters in New York history. And they have 2 really good, competent young broadcasters in Justin and Emmanuel. And I just think they're kicking the can a little bit, they're kicking the tires a little bit on. Is there someone else out there, even non-traditional, that would make the broadcast essentially a really entertaining talk show, right? And because of my relationship with them and the fact that I happen to have been the most listened to guy in fan history, both in morning drive and afternoon drive, Craig, can you do play-by-play? And that's really how it all started. That, for those that think this is a silly idea, and I get it. Look, I'm not a baseball play-by-play guy. I'd be surprised if I ever became the Yankee guy who did 162 games. But I have done a lot of play-by-play over the years, albeit not specifically baseball. I've done a few baseball games. But why is it so crazy? And take my name out of it for a second, all right? And this is going to be really egotistical. I don't mean it to be. Yeah. If it was announced this way, the New York Yankees are bringing in a New York Broadcasting Hall of Famer who had the largest audience in the same market that the Yankees broadcaster heard in both morning drive and afternoon drive, to create a little excitement over a summer series against an under 500 baseball team. Is that a different story?
I think that, yes, I think for some reason it is, but it's not. And look, I remember.
And here's why it's not. It's not because of the type of show I do and did at the Fan, and then what you alluded to, the fact that I don't have a relationship with Susan Waldman. Right.
That's being nice. But,
now, we spoke a week and a half ago.
Oh, you did?
And here's the crazy thing about that. 10 years doing morning drive at the Fan, 3 years doing afternoon drive. I've never met her.
You never met her?
I've never been in the same room as her. I have never met her. All right? So we spoke, and she has every reason not to be a fan of mine because of the commentary I put on the radio for a very long time in regards to some of her calls. Right? And we had a very nice chat for about 25 minutes. I'm going to see her in a couple of weeks. I'm going out to a Yankee game prior to the series against the Rangers. And look, she's a professional. And we're going to have some fun, and we're going to chop it up and kick it back and forth, I'm sure. And this is 3 days where, for those people that like hearing me on the radio, you're going to get to hear me on the radio. And in between that, I'll tell you what's happening on the baseball field.
Yeah. Listen, I think it's a great idea. Years and years ago, Craig, Scott Kaplan and I had the chance, thanks to Silver.
That's your buddy.
That's my guy, Scotty. Silver, one of the better producers at CBS. We did the annual Jet Giant preseason game for CBS, and I did the play-by-play, and I have to say I was really good. Silver said the same thing. So they go, you got a chance to be the 8th team. The issue was, I swear to God, in the studio right next to us, they had Craig Bolerjack and Darryl Johnston doing the same game, and there's no way that Rosenberg and Kaplan are going to beat out Boler. Right. So they got the gig, and I did the game, and they said you were great. But they've never done a game since outside of Brooklyn Cyclone.
I remember
games.
that, actually, because I think I was envious of that, because, mother, you know what? How are they doing the game? What about me and Blaine Ensley? How come we're not doing the game?
But now this is huge with the Yankees, and I'll tell you this, I'm going to tune in, and I would not put on a Yankee game on the radio, but to hear you, specifically you and Susan, that back and forth, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I mean, look, Craig.
You know what it is? It's going to be fun. The one thing, and again, I do not know Susan personally, but she's been around a very, very long time, obviously, the very first voice ever heard on the Fan, and a 20-plus year Yankee broadcast career, all that stuff, right? She knows her stuff. She's a Broadway singer. She's a performer. And what I said to her in our conversation was, we're probably more similar than not. We're performers. So, I'm going to come in. I'm very respectful Yankee brand of the pinstripes. I have great respect, as you should in this town, and admiration for the Yankee brand and the Yankee franchise. So I would never put myself in a spot where I'm going to mess that up or screw up a relationship that I've had, for the better part of 15 years with Randy, with Lon, and the guys in the Yankee organization. And I think you can also be true to honoring who the Yankee organization is and also have a good time. And I think at the end of the day, the Yankees just wanted to, spice it up for a weekend. So let's have some fun.
Craigie, I got to tell you, it's been an unbelievable year. The deal with Fox Sports, your show again, 7 a.m. every morning, Fox Sports 1. I watch it. It's a great show. You get the Yankee game coming up, Hall of Fame coming up in November. Been a great year, and you deserve all of it, my man. So congratulations. We'll all be listening. We'll all be listening, Craigie, to you and the Yankees.
But here's the rub of that. First off, thank you for that. And I'm not sure if I deserve it, but I'm blessed to have it for sure, because it's the greatest second, crack at a career in life I think that anyone's had in our industry. You're probably right there as well, with your opportunities. But I would say this: the risk that I'm taking here is your show. Obviously, everybody at the Fan, where the game is broadcast. If I have one mistake, if I screw up a call, if I get a home run wrong, I'm screwed. And I'll tell you an example. When I was at Syracuse, years ago, NBC brought a truck in at the end of every year, and they produced the Syracuse Chiefs baseball game. At the time, they were the AAA team for the Toronto Blue Jays. And it was like a senior thesis where all the kids in sports, production, got to actually put on a professional broadcast with NBC's number one team. They brought the truck out the whole bit. So they asked me to do play-by-play, all right? Now, I had never done TV play-by-play for baseball at the time. I had done radio, which is a whole different animal. So this is Mo Vaughn is on the Pawtucket Paw Sox. All right. All I'm hoping for is an easy 1-2-3 first inning, ground ball to short, maybe a double play, a strikeout, and get into the flow of the game, right? Dude, in the first 2 innings, there's a double steal, a sacrifice bunt. Like, it's crazy. I'm sweating. Mo Vaughn comes up, hits the ball in deep left center field. I'll never forget it. Derek Bell, who became a great pro with the Blue Jays, goes back to the wall. I have no idea where the ball is. Derek Bell stops about 10 feet shy of the wall. He crouches like he's going to play the ball off the wall. So I go with that because I can see Derek Bell, right? So I'm like, high off the wall. Bell's going to play it off a hop. Mo's trucking for second. Here comes the throw. And the color guy elbows me. Mo Vaughn is not trucking for second base. The ball was 30 feet over the fence. And Mo Vaughn is running around the bases like Giancarlo Stanton does these days. Right. Slowly. Yeah. And needless to say, NBC did not hire me upon my graduation.
Come on. Listen, I've heard John Sterling and the late, great Bob Murphy do the same thing. Pop up to first and the ball is 400 feet out of the stadium.
Well, the greatest, when you and I grew up, I'll never forget it, late 70s, early 80s, probably more the 80s actually, there was a guy in town named Spencer Ross. And Spencer Ross did all the games that were on Channel 11, as I remember as a kid growing up. And Spencer Ross was the king of deep fly ball to right. It may go at the track. Willie Randolph brings it in.
Good old Spencer. He did the Jets, too, by the way, Spencer Ross.
Yeah.
And the Knicks. He did the Knicks, too.
So now, did you ever get close, outside of that one thing with Scott and CBS, the preseason game, was there ever an opportunity where someone came to you and said, would you have legitimate interest in doing play-by-play or no?
Well, I mean, I did two things since. I spent a summer doing Brooklyn Cyclone baseball with John Giannone when the Cyclones first started. And then I did, alongside your friend Peter Schwartz, I did New York Dragons arena football for an entire season.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's since the Jets and the Giants. So I've had opportunities in baseball and football, but certainly nothing like this. This is huge, Craig. So
it's a big deal. Like, as much as we've both been blessed to do some really cool things in our professional careers. This I'm, and I said family, because they're like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. What do you think about it? And I said, well, take stock just for a second. In the last 100 years, right? How many people have gotten the privilege of calling a Yankee game? I don't care TV or radio, but just for this sake, let's just say radio. And it's a very small number of people. Now, obviously, they've been trying a bunch of guys out, so there's more lately than before. But you could go about 80 years and have three voices.
That's right.
Calling Yankee games. Mel Allen, Barber, and obviously John Sterling. So if nothing else, it's a story that one day, sitting around a fireplace, you can talk about it. It'll be great.
Craig, congratulations. Again, your TV show was great. Everything else going on in your life, I couldn't be happier. We'll all be listening, all be watching. Craig Carton, way to go, pal. Have yourself a great weekend. Great job.
Always a pleasure. Be good. Best to the family, and we'll see you soon.
You too. There he is, folks. The newest New York Radio Hall of Famer, Craig Carton. And again, he's got that big series coming up, Yankees-Rangers, his first shot at New York Yankee play-by-play. We'll take a short break. More of Sid and Friends in the Morning on a Friday right after these words.